All right, I'm so excited for this. This is my first moderating position, I guess. So, I want to start with just saying that this is something that I'm very passionate about on sustainable awareness, and I realize that Hawaii is behind the curve on overall sustainable building across the board. Not that developers aren't building LEED certified buildings here in Hawaii, because they are, but our standards and codes are very behind, I would say, the rest of the United States in a lot of things and like LEED certification. So our industry has a huge impact, as you all know, for the future of our Hawaii. And so if you guys know and understand what they're doing, hopefully we can push this forward with our clients, and some of the renovations that our clients are doing or the homes that they're buying or building, they start to build this way, because I really think it is the future. So we only have 40 minutes to really dive into all of this, so I'm going to get started. And what I want to do is give everybody a few minutes to introduce yourselves. So let me turn this mic on. Okay, so this is Eric Carlson. If you can, we'll have some slides up on these fellows here that kind of shows a little bit about some of the stuff they're doing. But go ahead and give us a little spiel about you. You've got 2 to 3 minutes.
2 to 3 minutes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Carlson. I'm contestant number 1. I can't see over the wall, but can you? No, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Revolution. We did a rebrand about 3 years ago. We're now Revolution Smart Home, as we're continuing into new avenues, producing new products for homeowners that range from air conditioning, roofing, and we just recently launched a building division. My role there, predominantly for the last 9.5 years, has been marketing, brand, and sales support. I support our Oahu office as well as our mainland offices in Boston and most recently in Idaho, in Boise.
Oh, so that's why you've been going over there for snow.
Yeah, it's one of the perks. So yeah, looking forward to answering questions when they come. So I'll hand the mic off.
So Mike.
So Mike, I'm a builder. I'm terrible at public speaking. Failed it like 3 times in college, so bear with me. I am the general contractor for Mokulua HPB. We build LEED and Energy Star certified homes. We're the only Energy Star builder in the state at this time. And our commitment is really to sustainable building and just providing our clients with the highest level of home production in the sense of current code and just energy efficient LEED certified homes. I also farm. We're a B Corporation, which is I'm super stoked about as a construction company. We're the only one, I think, in the US, which means we put employees, social welfare, the environment in front of profits and everything. So it's close to a nonprofit of sorts. And part of what we do is we farm and produce kalo, ulu, and we're working on jackfruit and distribute that to nonprofits who then distribute it to the communities, Waimanalo, Huimanu area, and West Side. So we're pretty proud of the sustainable impact we've been making, and look forward to sharing it with you that you guys can share with your clients. Aaron's up.
Just leave the mic as close to your mouth as possible so we can all hear you.
Aloha, my name is Aaron Ackerman. Local architect here for a firm called Bowers & Kubota. We're a little lesser known architecture firm since we're more notably known for our construction management services, but last year we actually were awarded the #1 architecture firm to work for in the country, so that was pretty cool. I'm a lead AP as well. I've been with the company for 15 years and focused mainly on the sustainable facilitation of projects and kind of champion that side of the firm. We do mainly commercial work. We service the federal, state, city, and private sectors. Some of the projects I've worked on are helping our clients to green their facilities in helping the Smithsonian with their telescope up at Mauna Kea and their base facility in Hilo. A lot of projects with the military. On the state side, working with folks like the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, Department of Transportation Airports Division, State Foundation of Culture and the Arts, and an exciting project right now I'm working on is a statewide sustainability master plan for the Public Safety Department for all of Hawaii's prisons. So that's not your typical client who wants to go green. And on the private sector, I've been fortunate enough to work on some exciting projects as well. We worked with Project Frog to put some LEED out-of-the-box prefabricated buildings in for the University of Hawaii and some other DOE schools. And working on a brand new campus for the Pacific American Foundation for Malama Honua's Hawaiian Charter School at a site in Waimanalo. Most notable project for me has been my home. This is something I started about 8 years ago on a quest to achieve the Living Building Challenge, which is right now maybe the most stringent and aggressive sustainable green building program in the world. And what I wanted to do is achieve this program while building it as much as I could with regional construction waste from Hawaii. So about 75% of this building was built with rubbish, essentially, from the Hawaiian Islands, and it was recognized last year by the International Real Estate Federation for winning the World Prix d'Excellence in Dubai. We won the Sustainable Development Silver Award, and I was surprised that we actually won the USA Grand Prix Winner Award, and I think Judy Sykes is here, president of the Hawaii Council, and as we learned that this is the first time, I think, since the 1950s or whenever this competition was created, that a single-family dwelling was ever awarded. So it just goes to show that sustainability is in everybody's minds right now, and really speaks volumes to people. And so that's the mission. Is the project was to educate and inspire folks and use this building as a case study, a demonstration project to try to show that this kind of stuff can be done. It can be done in our backyard, and we need to start here, weed our own garden first. We all have a role in solving this issue. So happy to be here today, and honored to be with this crowd of rock stars next to me. So thank you very much.
Good morning, thanks for having us this morning. My name is Jason Selly. I'm an architect. I've been practicing here in Hawaii for about 15 years. Jumped into sustainability really early on. I was brought out to help out with the John A. Burns School of Medicine. That was my first project here in Hawaii. That was an early lead project, and I was the guy asked to administrate pretty much everything and all the documentation. So it was an exciting time, definitely an interesting learning process. And from there, kind of became the lead guy, and eventually ended up serving as president of the U.S. Green Building Council locally for 2 years. Broke off on my own after teaching at the School of Architecture for a couple years in 2008 when things were slowing down. Had a nice break, and recalibrated a little bit, and decided to start our own studio with our own values, and been exciting since 2015 to take on some new projects. Just kind of looking at what's cycling through here. I think the most exciting project we're working on right now is Waikalua Loco Fish Pond in Kaneohe. It's utilizing an AI design award project that we did unbuilt, but it's getting built starting this year. We're excited. It's a modular classroom prototype, net zero. The idea is it's catered to Hawaii. This is some imagery of it here right now. The thought is that there's so many microclimates that one size fits all, concept doesn't really work. So interchangeable panels. The idea that the goal is living, building challenge as well to be completely net zero off grid. So excited to see this coming online with a really meaningful client, and playing around with invasive mangrove and using that for energy and building materials and all kinds of fun stuff like that too. So excited to share some more ideas with you guys today.
Awesome. So now that you guys have a better understanding of where these guys are coming from, I'm going to just dive into some questions, and then if you guys have some questions at the end, we can hopefully throw a couple in there. So you might want to, maybe if you want to jot them down somewhere, can probably hand them over to Leonie or Lael to help us out. So why sustainable? I think for a lot of us, sustainability is something we've been hearing about, but we don't know much about it. I have my lifestyle brand, Smart Living Hawaii, so my goal is to get that out to the general public. But let's definitely tackle this question. Does anybody want to start? Because I know as agents, we would love to push this out to our clients, but I guess for more than anything, we need to state our case as to why it's something we should do and we should consider. It's also a need that we need to discuss the cost, the reward, the return on investment, and how this affects our property value. So, anybody want to jump in?
I guess since I'm holding the mic, I'll kick it off. You hit it on the head. I think you guys are all realtors. You understand that you need to speak your client's language. And so whether that is economics and they're motivated by that, sustainability makes sense. You save energy, you save water, you save money, right? If they're looking to make an impact on the environment, then obviously there's a million reasons why we need to build sustainably. All of the world's scientists are in agreement that this is a really urgent issue. I think the latest reports are saying we have 12 years to really make some impactful change, or we're going to have some serious consequences. And buildings account for about 50% or so of the carbon footprint. So that's the area we need to tackle if we want to make quick change. And if you're motivated by societal changes and humanity, then sustainability makes sense there too. Humans, we occupy maybe 90% of our time indoors. So the buildings we live and work in have direct impact on our health, our well-being, and for all those reasons, if you can figure out what motivates your client, then there's a whole multitude of strategies to try to maximize those goals. So sustainability makes sense for all those reasons. And sustainability is a word that I think gets a little bit overused these days. And one comparison is, would it be okay to describe your marriage as just sustainable? I want a marriage that's more than sustainable, right? So I think when we look at doing things sustainably, it needs to be meaningful. It needs to be inspiring, supportive, and functional. So that's the kind of the things that I look at when I look at trying to meet a client's goals and to create a sustainable project. Who wants to take it?
Mike, you want to jump in on that one?
I got to chime in. Eric said you want a high-performance marriage, right? So from the residential side, I think, in a realtor's point of view, I'm a residential builder, and what I've learned from actually going to other states and understanding how their code works, sustainability has improved from a code level. Things like International Energy Conservation Code, and a variety of other things. And so one thing when people are buying homes here, a lot of them are outdated. And even new homes, our code is at best 2009. So the reality is code currently is 2018. And the 2018 code is far more efficient from a home perspective, whether it be air sealing, energy and water consumption, and the requirements that kind of aren't contingent on Energy Star and things like LEED, but it dabbles in it because LEED and Energy Star has pulled things and pushed to make code compliance generally for new constructions and even remodels better. And Hawaii, it just isn't on that level, and they're still dragging to get up to that level. The biggest thing, when you do air sealing, people think air sealing, oh, why? We have natural ventilation. Well, I can tell you in the last 5 years, 75% more homes that I build are being conditioned with air conditioning because, you know, we get these hot summers and prolonged summers, you know, and just damp winters. I mean, I live in Honolulu, and so it's like nice to just clear some of that dampness out, you know, all your stuff doesn't get moldy. And so air sealing, yeah, becomes super important. If you have a leaky house and poorly insulated home, you're just wasting money running your air conditioning. And because those codes aren't pushed here, or loosely pushed even, you know, homes still tend to be inefficient. So, you know, we tote the thing high performance because, you know, you want your home to be high performance. You want it to be built to current code better. I mean, why pay the same amount for something that's leaky and, you know, not doing its job when you can have a home that's better built, driven by code, is what I'm saying. So if the state as a whole gets better with their code compliance, you know, then invariably the homes that are being built are going to get better.
Could you dabble into LEED certification? Because I think a lot of people understand, I guess they don't fully understand LEED certification different levels.
So LEED, and I'm sure Jason can give a good comparison as well.
Maybe
So
Jason
I'll
hasn't
pass it down.
spoke. Why don't you pass that down to Jason?
So with LEED, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard LEED, both on the commercial side and you know, I guess I'm not quite sure how much on the residential side that's really happening here. But
Mike?
He's building all of them.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I know he's the man. The interesting thing about LEED is you know, there's different levels, and what it's done is just really, I think, like to Mike's point too, it's transformed the market. If anything, it's done well. It's transformed the market and driven vendors and manufacturers to push products to another level of health and wellness, sustainability, cradle to cradle, kind of where they're sourcing their products, the off-gassing that these products are having on our indoor quality environment, that kind of thing too. So, you know, when I was thinking about LEED and thinking about today's panel and the lens that that real estate agents might have on this, I think probably the most important thing I'd have to say about LEED is health and wellness. So, you know, if you think of the values of your clients and what they're looking for, and I think it's a trend now in hospitality, especially in Hawaii, people are traveling. They're not sitting around the pool drinking pina coladas all day. They're out. They're getting active. They're learning about medicinal plants. They're looking for hotels. They're looking for Airbnbs that are LEED certified because they know that the interior environment and the air quality is different. So your carpets aren't off-gassing. Your paint's not off-gassing. Your upholstery's not off-gassing. And I think that's an important thing with LEED is there's boxes that you check and manufacturers that are listed that fit in these categories, and you know that you're getting a healthy house. So you're getting a house that's not giving you headaches, that your eyes aren't burning. You know, I think with the housing market here, especially with termites, probably you're not using these harsh chemicals that can affect your children and your own well-being. So. I think that, you know, with LEED, it's kind of held some accountability to builders and to architects and to contractors to prove that they're doing things right.
So how far behind is Hawaii, just to give everybody a perspective? We're at 2018 standards, where are we by code?
By code, you're right, 2009. So I gotta think we're adopting, and you know the interesting thing is it's prescriptive too. So a lot of times when we want to do something different, we will write the building department. We'll tell them that this is a code that's being adopted in the future. We should be able to use it, and they've accommodated that. So you know, if you want to be proactive, you want to kind of push the limits, they'll help you through that. Hawaii, at least, you know, when I was serving on USGBC, we were in the top 10 for LEED square footage in the country. And a lot of that had to do with, you know, some of the big commercial projects and condo towers and that type of thing coming online. But I'd have to say that, you know, the market's driving it right now. So I think we're in a good place.
Okay, moving on to another question here. This question is for Aaron and Jason, since you guys are more in the architectural world of things and building designs. So, what are some sustainable designs that you guys incorporate into your builds or your designs?
Well, first off, I guess it goes back again to the client, right? So, how does your client or the user, possibly, of your client define success in regard to sustainability? So, an example, I mentioned about the master plan we're trying to develop for the public safety department for the prisons, and of course, they're the largest agency that's not known to many in Hawaii, but they have a lot of reason to make their facilities perform better so they can save money. But what they really want to tackle is the high recidivism rate, which is most inmates are going to get out. I think it's like 80% of them get out. And the majority of them end up getting back in because they don't have the opportunities once they've been locked up to get jobs, to get work, to make a meaningful life. And so mental health is a huge issue for that problem, and green buildings can achieve that. And so that's one of the things that we're focusing on is programs and initiatives that are going to improve mental health. If you have a client who has overcome cancer or was recently diagnosed with cancer, then health is going to be at the top of their priorities as well. Jason mentioned about off-gassing and volatile organic compounds and indoor air quality. That's going to be their priorities. Of course, you have other clients who are not dealing with those issues. You're maybe more tech-savvy folks who like to geek out on the latest technologies, and you're going to be able to look at opportunities there to bring in some of the great products and technologies that folks like Eric at Revolution can offer you. But I think it starts there, and then is it new construction? Is it a renovation? Are we talking about a tenant improvement or a core and shells, a landlord? That's going to kind of frame the objectives. And then what mode does that building want to operate in? Are we looking at natural ventilation, passive cooling, or is it air conditioning as the primary mode? That's really going to set the stage for how we work with the envelope and how we mask the building out. And then, trying to be high performance. I talked about having things be relevant, so reverence to place and being culturally appropriate is important. And what I try to do when we're looking at trying to hit goals like being net zero is increasing intimacy between the building organs and the occupants. So as long as we continue to stuff all the building systems in the basement away from everybody, we have no connection to the organs of the building, the resources that are supplying the users to operate that building. And so placing those systems where they're visible, where the occupants actually have to pass by them and see them and understand them, having visual indicators so that people have a little more awareness of where the bottom of the barrel is, if it is that we're trying to say net zero water, for instance. So those are some of the things. And then, where the green movement is going now is we're getting into other things like biophilic design elements, which is trying to design nature-inspired spaces. We all love to go on that nature hike or go to the park and kind of get away from the office, right? Why do we do that? We do that because nature gives us something, and that something is what we try to incorporate into the building designs so that while we're tackling the high performance issues of just operating the building at net zero, we also want to do things that inspire people. And that way, people aren't running out the door when you're a business owner trying to get people to finish their deadlines. They're not, just trying to leave the office right at 5. They're happy where they are, they're more productive, and they can do more work. So those are some of the things that I focus on. I mentioned about the environment, economic, and societal values. That's called the triple bottom line. So it's really trying to get away from this single bottom line approach to projects.
Yeah, so Eric, do you want to jump in on some of your innovative products that you guys have?
So we're known as a smart home builder, and we offer a wide variety of smart home technologies, and not so much the Jetson, like when people think of smart home, they kind of have this image of the Jetson family, and I think we talked about this on your podcast a couple months ago. But a smart home, the definition of a smart home for us is really that a home that can perform on its own and make informative decisions with minimal manual input from the homeowner, which in turn saves you time, money, and energy. So there's a lot of exciting products that are coming on the market. What we offer is more of the security, climate management, and more of an efficiency approach. But there are a lot of really neat products coming, such as smart lighting, smart blinds, smart refrigerators, smart appliances, where your home is basically learning your behavior patterns and anticipating what you will be doing in the home, therefore turning lights on when you come home, locking the door if you forget to yourself, opening blinds, just a wide variety of really simple devices that improve the overall quality of the time that you spend in your home.
Awesome. So, as everybody knows, Revolution's this solar company, but they've actually morphed into so much more. So that's why you can actually go to their showroom at SALT and check them out, because they actually have displays of all these different things now. So they do, of course, still solar, and now you guys do roofing, right? So if you need to do a roof because your roof is too old to put the solar on, you can do that too, right? So they actually, you can go there and get all of that together. And that's, to me, for your clients, is probably a really neat thing. You can take your clients there and they can see it all for themselves. Just like you're taking them to a showroom for a project, you can do that at their showroom. So the other thing too that I think is awesome and I need to do a podcast with Aaron is his home. So I know you briefly talked about that, but one other thing that I think we don't do as much of here and we should probably do more of is to repurpose and reuse materials. So can you talk a little bit more about where we can do that, where people can go for stuff like this, and maybe some of the innovative materials that we have or invasive species or whatever that we're using now?
So, yeah, it's a wild ride when you want to go into the reuse world. Fortunately, we have talented guys like Mike who can put it together for you, because you definitely need a different set of skills to work with that kind of stuff. One of the great things about using reused materials, and one of the things that I really wanted to do was look at resiliency. And so sustainable buildings are trying to talk about resiliency. We have extreme weather conditions now and extreme issues that are forcing us to really prioritize resiliency in building design. So when you look at these old homes, in Hawaii we have, I think, the most prevalent building type that is sort of the outdated single wall home that we're all familiar with, right? You've had those listings, right? And a lot of people are buying those homes and tearing them down. Every day you drive out of any valley and you see a excavator crushing an old single wall home into a can, and the following day the contractor's pulling strings for that new building. So I wanted to study these homes and look at what is left after 50, 60, 70 years when the termites have come through, the UV rays that Hawaii has, the corrosion, mold, mildew, all the things that Hawaii throws at it, which is a lot. Most building manufacturers limit their warranties in Hawaii for a good reason. And all the stuff that's left, that's still in good shape, that stuff's proven. That stands up more than a warranty in my mind. And so all the good stuff that's still good is what I built my house with. So primarily I'm talking about, the redwood. Redwood is the oldest living species found on Earth above the ocean. And over that history, I mean, it's back in the dinosaur prehistoric times, this stuff's been around. And so over that long lifespan, it has developed a DNA to resist everything that the Earth throws at it. Fire, mold, mildew, bugs, disease, you know, it will resist it. And termites won't eat it, which is a huge thing for us in Hawaii, right? So basically looked at these homes, kind of did a deep dive into that, deconstructed several of them, collected the materials, and when you deconstruct it, you end up with a stunted length of wood. So most people discard that because they think it's not useful, but that's only if you're going to build another single wall home, which is not legal to do anymore. Doesn't meet energy code, doesn't meet the building codes. So it's just looking at how do we repurpose these materials and reinvent their use, put an assembly together that still meets building code, and can still utilize the resiliency of the materials. And that was the process I went through. Redwood wasn't the only thing, but that was the primary material that I was looking at. There's a few places you can get reclaimed materials here in Hawaii. Reuse Hawaii is down in San Island. There's Restore, Honolulu Habitat for Humanity in Kalihi, Base Yard Hawaii with Nanakuli Housing Corporations out in Kalaeloa. You know, on the mainland, there's a lot of salvage yards that you can get materials. We don't have as many here, but there's other places like Craigslist, eBay. You know, I found some stuff on the side of the road that we've upcycled into, you know, some cool furniture and things like that. You get the word out, and now contractors contact me, so the material kind of finds me. You know, I gotta say no to it all, but it's like hoarding at my house. But you know, it's a fun thing. It takes some patience, and you got to put it together. But people really like it when they see it. So there's a lot of mana in that stuff. There's a lot of good energy. I call it monetary value. But yeah, maybe Mike can share some of his adventures with reused material.
Well, certainly builders were hoarders, I'll tell you that kind of stuff. So anytime, we never demo houses, we always deconstruct for many of the reasons that Aaron said. One, because it just goes to the landfill, and then who knows from there. And two, there is a lot of good value in that redwood and a lot of other things. If we can donate it to reuse or habitat, you know, that's certainly something we pursue. But in using that, I mean, most often we turn the redwood trims, and it can be anything from like decorative screening trims and a variety of other things, but mostly because I like to hoard it, because one day we'll build a castle out of all that redwood. But it really, it's just, you know, I mean, I cringe. You know, I see houses getting crunched by excavators, and I just am thinking, you know, they have programs. Reuse Hawaii actually has a program where they'll deconstruct, and you get, the homeowner client gets a tax benefit for it. And 99 times out of 100, it's gonna end up being cheaper than conventional demolition. I mean, the timing, you can't do anything about that. Demo, they can take a house down in 1 or 2 days. Deconstruct, you know, 3 to 4 weeks. But, you know, if you talk to people and explain the benefit of, you know, you get this tax benefit, most of the time they're willing to, you know, go that route. So certainly, you know, keeping stuff out of landfill for us is priority number one. Being conscientious with the materials we even purchase for new homes, you know, by staging our lumber orders, not just ordering a bunch of stuff and then culturing the guys to make sure we don't just throw stuff away. So yeah, I mean, that's
Awesome. I did want to go into this space because it's kind of interesting. The landscaping and native plants and foodscaping. So I know Aaron was just talking, it was Aaron, right? You were talking about bringing nature in. So right now I think it's really big. We've been doing a lot of native plants, but I just did a podcast with Mike, and he actually is planting like taro as an option for beautifying your landscaping. So do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So We do lead homes, and part of doing that is your landscape, right? The environment with which you're building. And so what we try to do is, anytime you build a new home, you're impacting the land. You take down the house, even if you deconstruct it, you remove the slab. But our intent is, at the end of the day, to that little 10,000 square foot, 15,000 square foot lot, we try to restore the natural environment and introduce as many native species as possible, or mix it with foodscaping, which is where you plant gardens that are not ornamental gardens, but the intent is it's ornamental. And we use a lot of kalo for that because it's pretty. There's a ton of varieties. And it's obviously the homeowner's choice with what they do with it, but it's kind of lower maintenance too. You can cycle everything, and if you hydrogenize, which means you plant things together that use similar water requirements, you can greatly reduce irrigation, even in areas like Kahala. We have a lot of homes that we've built in Kahala that are gardened with, foodscaping. And there's a couple companies out there that are, picking up on this and really doing a good job. But, we talked about permaculture and things like that, and so the objective is like that. This little 15,000 square foot environment, or 10,000 when we walk away, it's kind of like working in and amongst itself. You have the plants working together. You can, we've introduced situations where we do water catchment, minimally, or we make sure storm water is all collected and kept on site, and it filters to areas or beds that require greater watering needs. And then in that, it's like you're reducing energy efficiency, you're reducing your water usage, but you're also, putting back things that weren't there but are native to the island, were there before these houses were there. So it's like, there's a lot of cultural value in it too, that you can appreciate. So I think, as we move in that direction, restoring the native species that do the best here, because there's so many invasive species, and you'd be surprised how much houses we take down. It's just like 99% of the existing landscape ended up being invasive, and some of your favorite flowers and stuff are invasive. So, it's just the nature of it. But creating a holistic and just working environment so that whatever we touch, at least we can walk away knowing that we, left it better than we found it, so to speak.
Yeah. Does anybody have questions? Does anybody? It's so quiet out there. Sure. Maybe.
Do any of you just come out and do
An assessment?
assessments of a property, for
So do you guys do assessments? Maybe Mike, what do you do?
A lot of realtors have called me about, are you talking about look at the property if it's, quality enough to, if it needs to be torn down or remodeled, or what the, comparative is? Yeah, I've done a number of those. And I'm looking at it from a perspective of, what are the long-term goals of the client being, is this their forever home? Because there's decisions you make when you're building a forever home that's different than, I will be here 5 years, and then I'm going to sell it. But yeah, I certainly look at it from that perspective. But everything I'm looking at is based in sustainability. So, other builders will come out and just whatever they want to tell you, but I'm looking at it from more of a holistic perspective. But yeah, certainly, we'll take a look. Because it is important, and a lot of people coming from the mainland look at the single wall houses and are kind of just like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Does it stand up? Well,
Yeah.
So we do a lot of, we come out and do assessments for realtors all the time when they have a transaction that has an existing solar system. And so we'll come out, Revolution does that as a service. Just give us a call if you have a property. Unfortunately, we've seen we call it the solar coaster, where it started with a handful of us, and then it morphed into 300 solar providers, and now if you take a look at the landscape, that we're back down to about a half a dozen or a dozen reputable solar companies that are still in business. So that means that probably over 30% of all of the residential PV and hot water systems that were installed in the last 10 years are quote-unquote abandoned, meaning that the company that installed it can no longer maintain it or service it. So that is a service that we do provide. We will come out at a time of a transaction to verify. And if the homeowner would like, we can then take on that system. Yeah.
There's this one more group that I wanted to suggest, and it's Pono Homes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they'll come in and do kind of a complete environmental assessment, performance assessment, and then I think they even do kind of like lifestyle suggestions on how you can be more sustainable living day to day. So.
Okay, yes?
Is there a map for saturation for solar? Because I was surprised to learn where I live that I didn't need a power wall. I could actually still apply and get not really net metering, but similar to the old NEM system.
Yeah.
And it'd be really cool to see if there's a map to see who's actually saturated. Because I think there's a lot of people that don't understand. They think solar's kind of, you have to do a power wall, you have to spend all this money, but you can still get systems without a power wall as long as the saturation, as long as it can accommodate it in that neighborhood.
Yeah, there is a website. I can give the link later, maybe in a follow-up email that you may be sending out to everyone that you can look. You enter the address, and it'll tell you what the saturation is for that particular home. One of the what we've seen in the last year and a half is that batteries are predominantly required for new installs, and the beauty of it is because the costs of the other part of the system have come down so much, you can get a power wall or battery system for the same price as what you would have spent maybe just 4 years ago. Benefit obviously is resiliency. So as the storms get stronger, the winds are picking up, we're having down longer periods of loss of power, and so I think a lot of people have a lot of peace of mind having that battery backup.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Okay, we have a question, maybe one more question? See you.
Is it possible that we can see one of the house that Mike built recently as for the open house so that we can have better idea?
Oh, he has a very interesting project. I think there was one up. He just posted on his Instagram that I threw up there.
Yeah.
But you're building, that one's an interesting one. Can you mention that really quick?
Yeah.
But yes, he has some books too out here with some of his stuff, so you can grab. So I think Aaron and Mike have some things out there if you want to grab on your way out, or you can also talk to them or their websites.
Yeah, real quick, there is a portfolio, which is cool because the one thing I did want to say is when it comes to LEED Energy Star building, I've built HUD houses at $120 a square foot, all the way up to like the most custom high-end homes. So like it doesn't discriminate on financial, value. I mean, any home can be built sustainably, LEED and Energy Star. So I mean, and that's the important thing from affordability. The project they're showing up here is we've done a couple farms, and so what we do is we develop the land. We farm it first and get it all situated, whether it's planting trees or other things, and then we go in, and this is an ag lot where there's going to be a barn and then a home, and then we kind of go in and develop the property, build a home, build a barn, and then when it's done, you kind of walk away and it's a farm, it's a functioning farm. And this is one particularly is for Acacia Organics, and it's in Waimanalo. And yeah, it's just, I mean, I don't want to say it's like I farm, I'm a builder farmer, I don't, this is just a unique experience. We've done it, I think, 2 times now. And then this house we're pushing to actually go completely off grid. And these houses that we build are HER score, which is a net zero-ish, are at net zero or between 10 and negative. So it's like these homes are almost energy equal. And we do work with Revolution to provide the PV systems and battery backup for off-grid requirements.
All right, I think we have to wrap it up. If you guys have additional questions, you can speak to them after. They will be here and you can chat with them. But thank you guys so much for joining us.